So in my day job, I teach. I teach in a university. And a couple of months ago, I was teaching ODE. ODE stands for Ordinary Differential Equations. And it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this talk what those are, but I'll tell you anyway because they are some kind of mathematical equations. And during this class, we were trying to solve a particularly difficult problem. And a student from the back of the room just lifted up his hand and blurted out, "Josiah, why don't we just create an AI that could solve this problem for us?" And that was annoying for me on two fronts. On the one hand, on the previous week, I had taught them an elegant way of solving this problem. And on the other hand, if this student was successful, then I would lose my job. And no one likes to lose their jobs. But despite these two things, the thing that stuck with me after that class was the way, if you walk around nowadays, you're always going to be hearing people saying, let's create an AI to do this, let's create an AI to do that. You would probably hear someone saying, when you left here, you'd probably hear someone saying, yesterday I went to the freezer and I wanted to eat chicken and my chicken was still frozen. We should create an AI that knows when I want to eat chicken and take it out of the freezer. Or you could hear yet someone else saying, our world leaders spend so much time at the UN. Why don't we just create an AI to rule us and go to the UN and solve world peace? And I have had these things, not those particular ones, but I have had people speak quite a bit about let's AI this, let's AI that, let's AI everything. And what that makes me think is that maybe we're doing this, we're going too far down this AI path. And not to rubbish AI, because there have been very big advancements in artificial intelligence. So for instance, in '97, AI was made that beat the world's chess grandmaster at the time. Grandmaster is the best chess player. He was called Garry Kasparov. He still is called Garry Kasparov. And so he was beaten by an AI using tournament rules. And so AI has done some great things. So in this talk, I would like to look at what AI is and what AI can do and what AI can't do, what we should be afraid about, what we should be afraid of, and what we should not be afraid of. With that question, a good place to start would be, what is AI? The answer, artificial intelligence. And the meaning of the word artificial shall be left as an exercise to the listener. But intelligence is one of those words where if you go and read the dictionary definition, it doesn't really help you so much. So instead, I will give you an illustration to try and show you what intelligence means. And I will use 3 items that would probably be found in your kitchen. So think with me for a moment about a toaster. So what does a toaster do? You open up the toaster, put in some bread, close it, switch it on, and it toasts and toasts and toasts, and at the end of that, you have your toasted bread. But what happens if you take that toasted bread and put it back into the toaster and switch it on? It's going to toast and toast and toast, and you're going to get something that's really black that used to be bread. Think, on the other hand, about your kettle. You put in cold water, and it boils and boils and boils, and at the end of it, you have hot water. What happens this time if you take that hot water, put it back in the kettle, and switch it on? Well, at least for my kettle, it's only going to boil for a few seconds and somehow realize, wait, we don't need to boil this. It's already boiled. And this shows that the kettle is more intelligent than the toaster. Because it knows, okay, right now we don't need to work. Before you go on thinking that the kettle is the pinnacle of intelligence, think about what happens if you take some flammable liquid and put it in the kettle. Not so intelligent this time. It's going to boil and boil and boil and probably set your house on fire. So what this is trying to show us is that the kettle is not absolutely intelligent. It's more intelligent than the toaster, but it's not absolutely intelligent. And think with me about a third thing that may or may not be found in your kitchen. Think about a child who is born, and out of the box, they are not able to walk. Yet they would see their parents walking and decide that I would like to walk like mommy, or I'd like to walk like daddy. And they would try. So they would try get up on their feet, fall down. They would try put one leg in front of the other, fall down. And they would try for a few weeks, and eventually they would get it. And they'd be able to walk, and even go beyond that and run, and do all these other things that you can do because you once were a child. And that right there is the pinnacle of what we can do today in artificial intelligence, where you have an agent that out of the box can't do a particular thing, yet with time is able to learn how to do these things, or this particular thing. And so, if you remember the story I told you at the beginning about the AI that beat Garry Kasparov at chess in '97, well, what I didn't tell you about this particular story is that 1 year before, in '96, the same AI agent played against the same human, and the human won. And so you're probably thinking right now, so what changed between '96 and '97? And it wasn't that the human was sick or he was in a bad condition. What happened is that the AI agent spent the next 1 year learning how to play chess and improving its skills. Now, if I told you that the human, Gary, also spent that 1 year learning how to play chess, you would be forgiven for thinking that within that 1 year, he took a break to go to the bathroom. He, at some point, called his mom. He went for lunch at some point. But you see, when I say that the AI agent spent the next 1 year learning how to play chess, I mean exactly that. It spent 1 year learning to play chess. It did not take a break to go to the bathroom. It did not take a break to call its mother. It did not go for lunch. It did not go out to vote for its favorite politician. It just played chess. And that right there is a great thing about artificial intelligence, that you could have this one agent that can spend all of its time just learning how to do one thing and getting so much better at that one thing. But you see that last statement that I just said is again the drawback of AI, that this agent can only play chess. So if you brought it here, it could probably play chess better than I can. But I can play football better than it. And it cannot play music as good as I can, despite the fact that I can't play any music. And it cannot, it cannot deliver a TED Talk. It cannot do anything other than play chess. And so, despite the fact that AIs can get very good at one particular thing, AIs can only get very good at one particular thing, and nothing else. And that is where we humans seem to have some sort of an advantage, because I can get good at cooking, I can get good at speaking English, I can get good at teaching ODs. And it seems like we humans have this ability not just to learn one thing, but we seem to be able to learn how to learn. And that's our edge over AI. But then, what if? What if we had this AI that played chess? We had this other AI that did accounting. We had this other AI that played football. We had this other AI that did TED Talks. Now think of what you do. Think of your career, call it X, and say, what if we had this other AI that did X? Then we'd all be out of jobs. And we're not the first people to get to this conundrum, because the people who came up with this technology have got to this point before. And the question is, what next? I'll tell you today, free of charge, that anyone who tries to tell you what's going to happen in the future cannot tell you that with 100% certainty. And so we could only make educated guesses, but no one can tell you for sure what's going to happen next. So the AI practitioners fall into three major categories of what's going to happen next. The first group of people think that AI is not going to get much better than it is right now. So of the jobs that have currently been lost due to AI, not many more are going to be lost. So maybe we'll lose another 5 to 10%. The second group of people think that AI is going to get really good, and very many of us are going to lose jobs. But there's a fundamental category that cannot be touched. And this is the category of people whose jobs require creating a relationship with their client, between the professional and the client. So think of a counselor, for instance. So a counselor you would usually speak to your counselor and just talk about general things until you develop some sort of trust. The trust is fundamentally required for the counselor to do their job. Or parenting. So for you to parent a child, you need to have a relationship with that child. So these kinds of jobs that require empathy cannot be taken by AI, but everything else is up for grabs. The third group is one you're going to hear a lot about, simply because that's where I belong. And this third group thinks, to understand what this third group thinks, we have to go back in time. We have to go 300 years back, towards the end of the 18th century. At that time, a quick Google search will tell you about 90% of the American population was directly involved in agriculture. So this means that 90% of the population would wake up at 9 a.m., go to the farm, and come back home at 5 a.m. as their day job. Fast forward, our Google search last year would tell you that last year, 5% of Americans were involved in agriculture in that way. So from 90% being involved in farming to 5% being involved in agriculture. That's a difference of 85%. Now my question is, do you think that, and the reason why this 90% dropped to 5% is because we had the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s to 1900s, which mechanized a lot of the work in the farm. And so machines came and took jobs in the farm. So we came from 90% to 5% in 300 years. Now my question is, do you think that 85% of Americans are unemployed? That's not true. It's not true at all. And these 85% of Americans leveraged that thing that I told you humans can do a lot better than AI. The jobs in the farm went, and they learned how to learn to do all these other things. But if you went to 1700 America and told them that, hey everyone, your job is going to get lost, but don't worry, your child is going to be a professional in search engine optimization, and yours is going to do graphics design, and yours is going to be a socialite. Do you think any of them would have taken you seriously? And so, given what has happened in the past, I think that this is precisely what's going to happen in the future. That AI will take all the jobs that exist, but we will learn how to do all these other things. And so now I look back at this class that I had a few months ago, where I was irritated by the student saying that we could get an AI to take my job. And I'm not irritated anymore. I'm confident in the fact that we humans will always learn how to do something else. Thank you.